true because it was just announced that Caitlin Clark will be out for the rest of the season. She's only played 13 games this season, and her most recent injury, which happened back in July, was a groin injury. The craziest part about all of this has been the reporting around her injury. The team has never given her a timetable for return, and literally up until today, the team had been reporting that she was still trying to get back on the court this season. The Fever only have 3 regular season games left in the season before playoffs. Some fans were even speculating that they've just been stringing fans along the whole time.
This wasn't a tragedy. This was a strategy. What you just heard wasn't just speculation from heartbroken fans. It was the inevitable conclusion to one of the most calculated deceptions in recent sports history. For months, the Indiana Fever and the WNBA sold you a story of hope, a narrative of a day-by-day recovery for their brightest star, Caitlin Clark. They sold you tickets. They sold you merchandise. They sold you a reason to tune in, all while allegedly hiding the one truth that mattered: the show was already over. This isn't just a story about an injury anymore. This is the story they don't want you to know. A story about how a league, terrified of losing its newfound cash cow, sacrificed the trust of millions of fans and the integrity of the game itself just to keep the money flowing. Stick with me, because I'm going to show you the evidence. Connect the dots and expose the real reason Caitlin Clark's injury became the WNBA's most profitable lie. Let's start with the official story, the one they fed us for weeks. Caitlin Clark, the generational talent who lifted the entire league onto her shoulders, was day-to-day. Then she was questionable. Fans, hopeful and loyal, held their breath before every game, checking injury reports, believing the organization was being transparent. But behind the curtain of these carefully crafted updates, a financial time bomb was ticking. When Clark was ruled out of the WNBA All-Star Game, ticket prices didn't just dip. They plummeted by a staggering 48.4%. When the Fever were set to play the Chicago Sky, prices crashed by 71%. The moment Clark's absence was confirmed, from an average of $86 down to just $25. The message to the league office was loud and clear: without Caitlin Clark, the gold rush was over. The WNBA's television ratings, which had soared because of her, dropped by over 50% during her absences. This wasn't just a star player on the bench. This was a business model on the verge of collapse. And desperate people, desperate organizations, do desperate things. The first cracks in the official narrative came from the whispers, the rumors that the league was deliberately dragging its feet. They needed to keep the hope alive, even if it was false.
Out for the rest of the WNBA season. She had posted this whole statement on Instagram, as well as the Fever officially announcing it just now here on this Thursday evening. And there have been some talks about from the Fever staff about her potentially trying to come back, and they had kind of been trying to drag this out as much as possible over the course of this season, but there simply seems to just not be enough time in this season for them to fully feel comfortable in getting her healthy. And the message that has been sent has always been, the most important thing is her long-term health.
Trying to drag this out as much as possible. Think about what that means. It's not about getting a player healthy. It's about managing a timeline for public consumption. It's about optics. It's about money. The suspicion grew into a full-blown conspiracy theory, one that many wanted to dismiss as just angry fans venting. But then, veteran sports analyst Skip Bayless put a megaphone to the theory, suggesting the WNBA was outright lying about Caitlin Clark's injury, and that she has been privately ruled out for the remainder of the season. Yet the league prefers to keep the media and fans uninformed to maintain interest. He said what thousands of fans were already feeling in their gut. This wasn't bad luck. It felt like a bad faith operation, and the motive was becoming clearer by the day. Teams had moved games to larger arenas just to handle the demand Clark generated. The financial pressure was immense. Admitting she was done for the season would have triggered an avalanche of refund demands and a catastrophic loss of interest. So the story goes, they chose to deceive. And who would have orchestrated such a massive deception? Sources began pointing to an unholy alliance, an alleged conversation and agreement between the Indiana Fever organization and the highest levels of the WNBA, including Commissioner Kathy Engelbert herself. The goal: to protect the ratings at all costs. We don't want to mess these ratings up now, do we? Let's just make it look like she's going to come back. This is the allegation that changes everything. It reframes the entire saga from a medical issue to a corporate conspiracy. Every vague update from coach Stephanie White, every hopeful statement from GM Amber Cox, is cast in a sinister new light. Were they trying to protect their player, or were they executing a directive from the league office? The frustration boiled over when a video surfaced showing Clark playing soccer during her rehab. To fans who had spent hundreds of dollars on tickets, this felt like a slap in the face. The argument was simple and devastating. If she could kick a soccer ball, why couldn't she play basketball? The trust between the fans and the organization was evaporating. They felt like they were being played for fools, their loyalty exploited for profit. They felt scammed. The league needed to fight back. They needed to control the narrative. And what better way to do that than to use one of their own players as a shield? Enter Sophie Cunningham, Clark's teammate, who went on her podcast to fiercely defend the organization and attack the conspiracy theories. That's absolutely ridiculous. No one is being dishonest. When people say things like that, I'm just like, shut up. On the surface, it's a passionate defense from a loyal teammate. But in the context of this alleged conspiracy, you have to ask the hard question: was she telling the truth, or was she telling the company line? Was she an insider debunking a myth, or was she an unknowing pawn, sent out to perform damage control? She insisted that even Clark herself didn't know her own timeline, that it was a legitimate day-by-day process. But how could that be true if, as Bayless alleged, she had been privately ruled out for the season all along? The two realities cannot coexist. One is a defense of the team, the other is an accusation of a cover-up. And while Cunningham was defending her team's honor, the fans who had spent their money felt their intelligence was being insulted. The anger wasn't just about the injury, it was about the perceived disrespect. And through all of this, the financial panic, the media strategy, the fan outrage, there was one person at the center of the storm, suffering in silence: Caitlin Clark herself. When the charade finally became impossible to maintain, with only 3 regular season games left, the announcement came, and with it, a statement from Clark that was so filled with raw human pain that it made the league's alleged deception seem even more cruel.
Caitlin Clark, out for the remainder of the 2025 season, something we all think we knew was coming after what Stephanie White said earlier today. We couldn't be too sure until we see it for ourselves. And with this announcement from the GOAT's mouth herself, Caitlin Clark won't be returning. I had hoped to share a better update, but I will not be returning to play this season. I spent hours in the gym every day with the singular goal of getting back out there. Disappointed isn't a big enough word to describe how I am feeling. I want to thank everyone who had my back through all the uncertainty. This has been incredibly frustrating, but even in the bad, there is good. The way the fans continue to show up for me and for the Fever brought me so much joy and important perspective. I am so proud of how this team has only gotten stronger through adversity this year. Now it's time to close out the season and claim our spot.
Disappointed isn't a big enough word to describe how I am feeling. This has been incredibly frustrating. This is the human cost of the conspiracy. While the league was allegedly calculating ratings points and ticket revenue, a young woman was pouring hours into rehab, desperate to get back on the court, all while the organization she played for was allegedly selling fans a fantasy they knew would never come true. Her genuine heartbreak was allegedly used as a marketing tool. Her struggle was a commodity. They didn't just sacrifice the truth, they sacrificed her emotional well-being for the sake of the bottom line. Coach White said Clark's long-term health and well-being remains our top priority. But does it? Was it the priority when they were dragging this out as much as possible? Was it the priority when they let fans believe she might return? adding unimaginable pressure to an already devastating rehab process. The numbers don't lie. Her pain is real, and the evidence of a calculated deception is overwhelming. You were right to be suspicious. You were right to feel betrayed. They counted your money, but they didn't count on you connecting the dots. We've laid out the motive, a financial crisis. We've laid out the method, a campaign of vague updates and misinformation. We've laid out the alleged culprits, an agreement between a team and its league to deceive the public. But the biggest question of all still hangs in the air unanswered. We know what happened, but we don't know exactly who gave the final order. Was it GM Amber Cox who faced the wrath of the fans? Was the directive straight from Commissioner Kathy Engelbert as the rumors suggest? And the most chilling question of all, did Caitlin Clark know? Was she a willing participant in the lie, or was she the conspiracy's biggest victim, silenced and used by the very people meant to protect her? The truth is out there, buried in emails and internal memos they never wanted you to see, and we're not going to stop digging until we find it.